like
Well, no,
that.
but you do get to do the old man stuff too, because like my granddaughter loves it when and my daughter hates it when I go to my granddaughter, pull my finger.
Right.
Oh, my girl loves that too.
Really?
My niece will tell her, Momo, you're not supposed to pull a boy's finger when they tell you to do that.
Down on the strip where the neon glows, there's a little shop everybody knows, where history's bought and treasures are sold. Gold and silver, stories unfold. When the doors close and the lights dim low, Rick and Sean kick back, friends they get to know. Gold and silver by day, but at night, my friend, Palm After Dark is where the stories and laughter never end.
Today we're here with Riki Rachtman. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm having fun. I walk in here. I learn stuff. You know, I'm a fan of the show, and it's just really cool to meet you guys and to be at this place because I love memorabilia. I love collectibles. I hated history in school, but when somebody's showing me a samurai sword that was around in the 1500s, I like taking in history. You know.
Well, you're pretty much a part of history. I think we'll get into that here in a little bit, but no, I mean, you built some history. You know, you're still building it. Like you cemented your place in, the metal rock history.
You must have some amazing stories.
Some of them I can remember, but I do. I have some. I was lucky. I spent the last 3 years going out on tour doing a spoken word show, and I would just get up on stage and tell stories for like 3 hours, and it ended up being all over America and Australia. So yeah, and I like talking. So I'm sort of like a Forrest Gump, I guess, in the way of, not in the way of the way he was, but in the way of I've been in a lot of places at the right moment. It's like, oh, this just happened to happen. And, oh, some of my best friends became some of the biggest rock stars in the world. And you never expect that. You know, it's like, I know all these guys when they don't have any money, and now, they're selling out baseball stadiums or whatever.
Well, I asked you to bring a couple items today.
I did.
So maybe you could share the stories you have about those items.
Okay, the first thing I will show you, the story isn't as great a story, but one of the things I do is I do these charity motorcycle rides. And me and my wife get on a motorcycle and we ride all over America, and we get people on social media to tell us what to do. And I've always had different charities that I raised money for. And the very, very first ride that I ever did, I gave the money to Farm Aid. And I thought it was really cool. So they sent me the very first Farm Aid ticket unused, but on the back of it, it's signed by Willie Nelson.
Oh,
So that's the
cool,
very
super
first
cool.
Farm Aid ticket, uncut, unused, and it's signed by Willie Nelson. And that one they sent me, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of neat. They sent me the first Farm Aid ticket, and then it was like, oh, and it's signed by Willie Nelson. I was like, thank you.
I mean, I thought my Bob Dylan autograph was cool, but this is pretty freaking awesome.
And it's not only that it's Willie Nelson, and it doesn't matter if you're into, Slayer or Beyonce, you probably think Willie Nelson. Does it smell like weed?
It
I'd start smoking weed again if I met Willie Nelson right now.
You know what? I don't smoke or drink, but if Willie Nelson ever passed me a joint, I would have to question my surprise.
It's like,
quit a
it's like
while
the Toby
ago,
Keith song.
Right.
I'll never smoke weed with Willie again.
Right.
Well, I don't smoke weed anymore, but growing up, it was always a dream to smoke with Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson. So I just have Willie Nelson left to
There you
check
go.
off. So I'd have to do it.
So that one was always cool. I mean, I have a lot of stuff from some of the bands. I've got a lot of gold and platinum records and stuff like this. But owning the club, I got to meet a lot of famous musicians because it was their home. And my favorite band of all time is the band Motorhead, because Motorhead back in, they've been around since early 70s. And there's so many stories about Lemmy that people don't understand. He tried to teach Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols bass and then just finally gave him up. He said he's useless. Lemmy was actually a roadie for Jimi Hendrix at one time. But Lemmy and I became very, very good friends. And he would play my birthday parties or play at the club. And he was just always just such a good dude. And especially, I have 2 Motorhead tattoos. And to love that band so much. And when Lemmy died, I go to the mail one day and I take out this letter and it says Motorhead. And I'm like, oh, what is this? So I open it up and there's this little bullet in it. And I'm looking, I'm like, Leah, and I show it to my wife. I'm like, look, it says Lemmy on it. And she's reading the letter that came from Motorhead and said that when Lemmy died, he wanted to be cremated, and he made a list of people that he wanted his ashes to be put in a bullet and sent to his close personal friends. And I have one of the bullets, and that was and that's so Lemmy from Motorhead is in that bullet. And I always said, like, you know, that no matter what, I will never ever part with that.
This is pretty cool. It's inscribed Lemmy right
Yeah.
there.
But he's inside there.
Yeah.
You know? So that was, I mean, and when I opened that up and it said Lemmy and they told me that his ashes were in there, I cried. It was just like, it was really, really cool for me.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty special, you know.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I got one Lemmy story.
Okay.
There was like this award show that was at like the Westgate, and it was kind of a lame award show I just go down to the bar and then I turn over and then there's Lemmy, and like he was a big fan of my show, and literally we just sat there for an hour and got shit-faced drunk. You know, and then like after like 15 minutes, like I was pretty buzzed and I can't hear well, and he was drunk, so I didn't understand a word he was said. But
Well, it's hard to understand what he says even if you aren't drunk.
yeah, but all I know is just like, fuck, I'm hanging out with Lemmy. This is one of the greatest nights of my life.
Well, he really loved, especially like German war memorabilia, and he was also very intelligent when it came to that stuff. He knew a lot about, you know, war and stuff like that. And I know that he collected some of the stuff that it was just pretty cool.
I just thought it was a really cool thing that he was a fan of the show.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm a fan of this show because it's you don't want to learn about history, so to speak, but you do.
Rick tricks you into it.
Yeah, learning the knowledge that you guys have. And also because I'm a big fan of pop culture, of all kinds of cheesy 70s shows and music and everything and trends. And so it's always fun to me just to see. And then, you know, I always get to thinking like, what do I have? And especially that when you see the people that find stuff like in a garage that they don't even know, what is this? What is this? You know? So
It's been so weird over the years, just the stuff that people just bring in just out of nowhere. Yeah. But like, yeah, if they just find stuff in their garage. I mean, that one guy brought in an Olympic medal he found in his dad's garage, and he goes like, I have no idea where the fuck my dad got it.
I'm surprised still day by day at what people collect.
Right.
And there's so many different type of collectors out there, and
There's
it's cool
some-
to hear that Lemmy was collecting German memorabilia.
there's actually some adults that collect Pokemon cards. Is that the craziest thing you've ever heard? I can't believe it.
I'm 42 years old and I collect them.
I know nothing about Pokemon, but it's like
all right.
for me to say like, oh, how can you collect Pokemon cards when I've got all my comic books and, you know, I still have a huge comic book collection. And
Comic books have some massive value in them.
some. The problem is when I started to get into it is right. Well, like I remember when they released the first Spawn. So I said, oh, Spawn's going to be big. So I bought 8 Spawns. But everybody did. You know, everybody knew that the comic book collections were going to start to get really, really big. So a lot of people bought. But I have like, you know, the ones, you know, without being a nerd, but I know you hear it every day. You know, I got Spider-Man 129, which was the first appearance from the Punisher.
Yeah.
So that's why I got that one. I thought that one was really cool. And I've signed Evel Knievel stuff because he was my idol when I was a kid. And
I would have never took you for a comic book collector. See, it's like
oh
you
no,
never know.
I am such a nerd. I really am. I love comic books. I used to, you know, made sure that even when I was on Headbangers Ball, I made sure that I had every episode of The Punisher, every single episode, and his appearances and stuff like that. And
So did you grow up reading the books, or did you?
oh
Just,
yeah. Oh, when I was a kid, it was Captain Marvel, and that's what got me into it. So I would start to get it. And I still have some of the, you know, very first Captain Marvels, and you know, I'm weird that if I'm watching or reading something that's total fantasy, I need some sort of believability in my fantasy. Like when I just only started watching Stranger Things, I can watch Stranger Things with this whole thing in the upside down world, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if the Metallica song really did come out in that year. And that's the thing. I'm like, how can I believe this? Meanwhile, you know, there's people that live in other dimensions and all this other stuff.
Well, if you like Stranger Things, go down the Monk Tunk rabbit hole. That's the
Really?
conspiracy that it was based off of.
Oh, okay.
Which is probably not a true conspiracy, but it's a pretty wild theory. So
Some of the shows, like, I get really into, and then I start to, like, fade out, you know?
yeah, that's how I do
Yeah,
it
same
too.
here. Well, my problem is like I'm a big history nerd. Okay?
Right.
Like I'm literally watching a documentary the other day, and it's on Rome, and like they're all dressed up like Romans, and it's supposed to be a downtown Rome, and there's a cart goes by with like carrots in the back. They were orange carrots, and we're like, Well, fuck, everybody knows that fucking Orange Karens didn't come out to the 17th century. Fuck, I can't watch it now.
So, comic books. What else do you like to collect?
It's funny, like the rock and roll memorabilia that I have is stuff that I just
It's probably
have.
more personal items.
It was,
right?
you know, all the early stuff that I got from Guns N' Roses. By the way, on your show, somebody had one of Slash's top hats. No, they were selling Slash's driver's license. And he told the story, or I think you told the story about Slash's top hat, how he got the top hat, which isn't true. And even the true story
I'm here to be corrected.
The true story is my friend who was my roommate was in a band called Faster Pussycat Tammy. And Tammy worked at a store called Retail Slut on Melrose. And Slash came in there one day and he was like, yeah, I'm looking for something to get on stage. And Tammy said, well, what do you think about this top hat? And Tammy picked it out. And I'm still friends with Slash. And he goes, I don't remember it like that. And Tammy's like, oh, no, that's exactly what happened.
Well, I hope you're putting out a line so next time I have some memorabilia, I can call you to check my story
Please
first.
do. But I don't remember a lot.
Yeah.
But just like a lot of crazy things, you know, like I'm standing next to Robin Zander of Cheap Trick when he gets a text and it's like, oh, you've just been admitted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I'm standing next to the guy from Cheap Trick and he's like, look, I just got admitted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, just little things like that that I'm so lucky to have been a part of. A lot of signed, I had this, when I started MTV, I had this book, because I just don't really ask for autographs, but I had this book. I go, okay, sign this when you come in. And I'm looking at it, and it's like Dimebag Darrell and all these, like every rock star in the world that you can think of was just, signing my book that I didn't even think of.
Yeah, I'm the
you
same
worked,
way.
You worked at MTV when MTV was everything. I mean, that was the entire music world. I mean, that's when MTV had music videos.
Right.
Like it was a TV station about music. And I mean, I remember when MTV started. What was like 1981, 82?
Something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, they had like 8 videos that they just played over and over again. But by the late 80s, I mean, it was just so huge. I mean, it was, and now, do they have anything on music on there?
The way I like to explain MTV, it was a fish aquarium. It was something that at your house you kept on all the time, and you might walk by and go, "Oh, check out what band is this?" Or you might just walk by because the fish are always there doing stuff. Well, it was a fish aquarium. It was just always on in your house. And then it went away, and I was lucky enough, even though I hated the reality shows, I was in Daisy of Love and Charm School and the Rock of Love reunions, but I still didn't necessarily, even though I liked doing the shows, the reality thing is really, what killed MTV. And the other thing was, it's hard to sit there and watch videos when if there's a video you want, you can pretty much talk to your phone and say, play something from Megadeth or whatever, and you can get anything you want. But what I think was unique is because Love Me or Hate Me, I was on the show. I wasn't a polished professional, and so I would just do goofy stuff when I interview, and it was like you get to see Alice in Chains at a water park, or I'm talking to Kurt Cobain, who's just whacked out of his skull, and it's just like things that I was just kind of trying to bring some personality into it, so it was more than just the music videos.
Well, I grew up on Kurt Cobain. I absolutely love him. One of the coolest items we never filmed with, that we had a line to film with, was actually him and Courtney's marriage certificate, where they were going to get married, but then the hurricane came through Hawaii, so they hopped island to the other hotel.
Wow.
I had a bunch of friends out in Kauai, but they couldn't come out here to bring it in. So pretty cool. I didn't even realize you got to, meet one of my biggest legends of all time.
Well, if you ever look on YouTube or anything, the Headbangers Ball with Nirvana, which was in their home videos and everything, Kurt Cobain wore this big yellow ball gown, and I had long hair, looked a little bit different. And when I walked into the green room to meet Kurt Cobain, he was passed out, face down on the floor, and I was like, I kind of wanted to meet him because I like Nirvana. And then he sat on the set next to me with this big yellow ball gown, and he was like, well, it's a Headbangers Ball, so I thought I would dress for the ball. And I didn't really get it until like 10 years later. But, I was sitting there, and he was so out of it, and he acted like he didn't really want to be there. So people watched the show that said, oh, Ricky was so uncomfortable. I wasn't uncomfortable. I was just like, oh, God, let's just get this over with. Because even though he was in Nirvana, just kind of like just so messed up, I didn't care.
A sad story.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you never think about some of these moments of history that you're personally involved in. and you never think that some of these people are going to be gone. And when some of these people will sign something or give you a shirt or do whatever, you might not ever see them again, or that they would become legendary. You don't think of that stuff. And it's weird, you never ask for anything, especially when they're your friends. When you knew Axl Rose before they had a record deal and you guys used to hang out all the time, and then he's like the biggest rock. Like, it was weird for me to go to a football game and hear Welcome to the Jungle. I'm like, they're playing Guns N' Roses. Like, yeah, they're like the biggest band in the world. And so, I was in the November Rain video too.
Yeah. So when you were like, you got on MTV, started interviewing people, what was like your big awe moment? Like, I'm interviewing him, I'm interviewing her.
Everything was weird at first because I didn't have any TV background, and sitting there, it's like, okay, we're gonna send you to England. You're gonna interview Aerosmith. I'm like, okay, no. You know what the weirdest one was? Because so many people went to the Cat House, which was my rock and roll club then. I had met a lot of these people, but when they brought in Angus Young and Brian Johnson from AC/DC, and they're sitting there, and I'm like. Talking to AC/DC, I mean, And then I remember, I'll never forget this, and Brian Johnson was so, I don't know if you ever met him or anything, he was so nice, and he said, well, nah, Ricky, if I saw you, because we're friends and stuff like that, and, I never saw him ever again, but I was like, Brian Johnson called me his friend. So and the thing is, I am a fan. I'm nothing but a glorified, as you guys are, when stuff comes in, you love it. We all love this stuff.
Like when Ronnie Montrose walked in here, like, this was like 12, 13 years ago, like, and I was like, because I'm 60 years old,
right.
Okay? So, like, that was like, Bad Motor Scooter, all that.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, he's a fan of me? I mean, it was a big, that was probably one of my most awe moments, like when Ronnie Montrose walked in here.
Speaking of that, I worked for NASCAR for a while, and I was in Texas, and I was going to go interview Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I was a little bit nervous to interview, and I walked in, he goes, I know who you are, Ricky. I love Pantera. And I'm like, so Stone Cold Steve Austin watched me on TV? Like, that was really weird. Or to meet somebody that's like a big-name celebrity, and they go, yeah, I know who you are. And I was like, really? Like I was in your headspace, and that's really cool. And the Stone Cold Steve Austin one, I really remember because it was so surreal for me.
Yeah, I hope Stone Cold knows me.
Probably.
I grew up on him too. I'm a little younger than you guys.
I'm a nerd. I love the comic books. I love professional wrestling. And I love riding motorcycles and eating.
Yeah, I'm excited. WrestleMania is coming out here to Las Vegas.
I
this
know.
year. I got some tickets.
Be bugging you. See, there you go. Yeah. It's like my wife's birthday is on WrestleMania. She's like, hey, we should go to WrestleMania. And I'm like, yeah, we could watch it.
I had to call in a favor, and I beat Rick to it. And I think
it had to be a big favor.
He was trying to take my tickets, I think, because
I'm bringing my grandson, all right?
We're really good friends with these people who own a box up there. And then, I called them, and they said, oh, yeah, we'll get them for you, chum. And then a couple of days later, I heard Rick was trying to get tickets. So me and my friend are sweating. I'm like, fuck, are we going to lose our tickets to Rick?
Yeah, I wanted to go. It's funny. One of the most famous wrestling referees, Charles Robinson, is like one of my neighbors. And I see him a couple, and he's just a really good friend. And, the only thing is if you have friends that are famous for something, you don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. Like, I would love to sit down and talk to Charles about wrestling, but I don't because he doesn't want to talk about it. He wants to talk about going on the lake and, seeing movies and getting
No one
dinner.
wants to talk about work all day.
No. I mean, I'm lucky because when people want to talk to me, if they want to talk to me about music or heavy metal or stuff, I'm like, I love it. I'm nothing but a fan, which is great. I'm very blessed to have those types of jobs.
Yeah, it's cool to be able to just talk to people and sit down and get to know them out of what you know them for.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about your motorcycles. I've been riding bikes since got my first bike in 1978.
Okay. Do you remember what it was?
I got myself a brand new 1979 RM80.
Okay.
Unlike us, he remembers everything.
The motorcycle things, I mean, I've ridden forever. I've got 3 motorcycles at home. A 1972 Honda CB750 chopper that just, everybody thinks the Harleys were the choppers. But in the 70s, a lot of people had those Hondas. I have a Triumph Bonneville. And the newest bike I got is a Harley-Davidson Pan America. And the reason is when I say I do these rides that I ride far, I ride pretty far. As I've said before, with the exception of Neil Peart from Rush, rest in peace, I've ridden more miles than anybody in rock and roll. And I know less about motorcycles than anybody, but I know how to ride. So,
passion to
you know,
ride.
one summer I said, okay, I'm going to do 48 states, and I did it. And I've been coast to coast 14, 15 times this year. And I want to thank, I'm wearing a Rambler shirt. Rambler Water really helped me out because they heard what I was going to do, and they're helping sponsor me. So I'm going to ride my motorcycle from North Carolina to Key West, Florida. Then we're going to ride to Texas. I'm going to do an iron butt, which is 1,000 miles in 24 hours. And then I'm going to ride from there to Alberta, Canada, pick up my wife, then spend 4th of July in Alaska. And I'm just going to spend pretty much this entire summer on a motorcycle. And I also have a nonprofit called Heavy Mental that raises money for the people that do the suicide prevention hotline. And every time I do a ride, like when I raise money, I truly do get, I don't take it out for expenses. You know, I've given Stop Soldier Suicide $32,000 and I don't get pressed for it. I just do it because they're like, oh, why do you do all this charity work? I'm like, because I'm selfish and it makes me feel good. I mean, that's the reason I like to do it. But I love riding. I mean, riding, I remember one time, and I have, you know, my mind is always a million times. I have all these mental issues sometimes. And I remember riding a motorcycle in the middle of the desert by myself, and I was like, what was I thinking about for the past hour? I'm like, oh my God, I haven't been thinking about anything.
Well, it's
And
psychotherapy.
It is so much, you know, when you're just sitting there, because really the only thing that you need to focus on, you don't need to focus on bills or work, because all you need to focus is on not dying, you know? So if you're just riding and you're just like, God, I truly love riding. I don't care about being the cool guy at the bar and watching Sons of Anarchy. It's like, I just want to get on a bike and ride.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
like with
love
me,
it.
like going, 40, 50 miles an hour through the desert on a dirt bike, you're not allowed to, you can't think about anything else.
No.
You just go through and like, just go. And like,
It's a pain in the ass to even walk through his garage to get inside the house because you have to zigzag in and out through all these different motorcycles.
well, my girlfriend, she complains, why do you need so many motorcycles? And we're like, well, it depends on the scenario, honey.
Of course. Like my mom used to say, she goes, when I had 2 motorcycles, she goes, why do you have 2 motorcycles? And I said, because my garage won't fit 3. And now I have a garage that fits 3. So it's like, you know, they say the N+1 is the quotient for everybody that rides a motorcycle. N is the amount of motorcycles you have. +1 is the next motorcycle that you're going to get. Like, you don't need, and 3 isn't a lot. I mean, a lot of people have hundreds of or dozens of motorcycles. You know, I just have 3, but I could see reasons for having a lot of different bikes.
Well, look, a bunch of my bikes are like collectible bikes. Like, you know,
I bet.
I mean, I have a 1969 Triumph with 34 miles on it.
Oh
Is that
my
the one up
God.
there?
It's one of my
Yeah,
offices.
he has a fully put together motorcycle in the office.
I got it.
upstairs.
I love that. And the Triumphs are such
no,
great
but
bikes.
but it's what you ride. I mean, like I have my '68 Bonneville chopper. It's got a little peanut tank on it that holds like
course.
3/4 of a gallon. So it's just literally go to like 3 different bars. And then,
Right.
Yeah.
So out of all your motorcycles, all the years you've been riding, which one just like has that special place in your heart?
The first Harley, when I started making money at the Cat House, I bought my first Harley, which was a 1967 Pan Shovel. And it was great because it was an antique bike. It was a kickstart. But like I said, I don't really...
Kickstart.
Oh, my Honda's still a kickstart.
Oh,
My
man.
Honda's still a kickstart. But when I got that bike, everything ran great, and I could go to the bars with this cool bike, and that got stolen. So that always had, you know, a special part in my heart. And, you know, every motorcycle has a thing because, oh, this is when I rode the Hana Highway in Hawaii, or this is when I rode this or that. And, you know, even though my chopper, I don't take out much because it's got no rear suspension or anything like that. But, you know, I walk by and I'm like, that looks kind of cool, you know? So they're just all, you know, they're like the same thing with cars, you know?
Yeah. So the chopper's rigid.
Yes.
Yeah. Those
Yes.
are the kind of bikes you ride for an hour and go to chiropractor for 2.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, that's like-
it's like, oh, my Honda's got, you know, this many miles because I can't really ride that much farther. But, you know, I usually have way more miles on a motorcycle than on a car. And this summer, like I said, the Iron Butt, which is 1,000 miles in 24 hours, it's like, that's going to be challenging for me because the most I've ever ridden in a day was 800. And you're riding, you know, from morning till night. But, you know, it's something
Most
I
I've
haven't
done is Laughlin and back. Like,
Right.
Yeah. No, because for years I would just like, it'd be summertime. It's nice outside. Just go walk inside. Hey, honey, I'm jumping on my bike. I'm going to be gone for 4 or 5 days. I just
Right.
don't- And like, it's funny because I like, you know, I go up to my ranch in Oregon and like just stop in the woods and put up a hammock and spend the night in the woods and like just on my
greatest.
bike and it just, and people, here's the thing with motorcycles. when the people go like, well, why would you want to do that? Well, you'll never understand.
Of course, you never understand because it is something that it becomes an extension of yourself when you're out there, and when you're low on gas, you talk to your motorcycle. People get very religious when they're low on gas. They don't have the time. Look, God, okay, I know I haven't talked to you for a year, but I'm in the middle of New Mexico and I've got to get 20 miles. If this is the one, God, or you have to go to the bathroom or whatever. But when I always rode a lot. And then when I met my wife, I said, look, I'm a biker. I ride a lot. And she's okay. And then I took her on the first ride. So now if I say like, hey, I want to ride coast to coast, she's like, when are we leaving? So she loves riding on the back of the motorcycle. So I kind of lucked out because there's nobody telling me no. It's like, when are we going?
Yeah, let's go.
So I love riding. I love it. Alaska is going to be unique because I don't know.
Dude, plan out the gas stops.
Oh, yeah, I know that. And there's a lot of times when you probably have to bring a little gas can with you. So
Yeah, you got a Pan American. Just get a couple of those Roto packs and just strap it to the side of your boxes.
yeah, so that's what neat is the Harley Davidson that I'm riding, the Pan America, is it's an adventure bike. So it means so that bike can kick ass on the road, and if we hit mud or we hit gravel or we hit anything else, we're good. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that's yeah, but you really haven't done the off-road thing?
I just took a class because, seriously, if I'd go to a hotel and there was a gravel parking lot,
Power through.
Take an Uber across the parking lot. I'm not.
Yeah, just
but now
power through.
That's
Power
what
through.
I learned. That's what I learned. So
Yeah.
I took these classes to learn to ride in gravel and rocks and mud and enduro riding, and I'm like, wow, I never did. I was the kid that's like, Mom, can I have a mini bike? It's like, no, I don't believe in them. I never got to ride motorcycles as a kid, and just like I never got to eat sugar cereal as a kid. So as soon as you move out, you're buying motorcycles and eating, Fruit Loops every day or whatever.
So I don't think we could actually really get to know you unless we get to talk about the cat house for a minute.
I love talking about that.
From everything that I've gathered up, and I've watched some interviews and stuff with you, and whenever you talk about it, I kind of get this sense that you wanted to build. You basically didn't really want to build your idea. You wanted kind of the outsiders to kind of create the cat house in the light that they wanted it to be. I mean, what was that like building that scene?
That's a neat way you put it, that it hasn't really been put that way, but you're very accurate. When I opened up the cat house, my roommate was starting a band called Faster Pussycat, and my friends were Axl and Slash, and we had a very nice little community in a small town called Hollywood, California, and I wanted to have a club that was a rock and roll dance club that people would go to dance to rock and roll, and we would go pass out flyers at all the mud wrestling, strip bars, and hit all of those girls. And then all of our friends were starting off rock bands, so people walked in there, and there were more girls at our club than anywhere else. And then Axl said, hey, can we play live here? So they played acoustic, and then another band asked to play. And, every single band has played the Cat House, from the Black Crowes paid to play the Cat House, to Alice in Chains, to Guns N' Roses, to everybody. But even though every rock band played the Cat House, what made the Cat House truly famous, it was truly, just all I can say is sex, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, it was one of the most decadent, raunchy clubs. I mean, you could never do anything like that. And it became so crazy that there was a fashion type that would go to the Cat House, and they wrote about it in Women's Wear Daily and Sportswear International, because women would dress in very revealing clothes, and so it got to be the point that every girl that walked in the club looked like a stripper or mud wrestler, and most of them were. But it also meant that if you were a woman that was a school teacher, or you were a woman that was had a business or a housewife, you could go to the Cat House, pretend like you're this then go back home to your normal life. So it became truly decadent and sleazy, and it got more and more famous till there were bands that were writing songs about the Cat House, and everybody wanted to be at the Cat House. And for me, who's just this punk kid from Hollywood, I mean, to this day, people go to cathousehollywood.com and buy Cat House shirts. I mean, I'm still selling Cat House shirts, and so very proud that we created something that so many great bands came out of. So when you talk about the early days of, Axl was always wearing Cat House shirts, or Slash was, or Cheap Trick, or anything. So it's really neat for something that was started purely just as a place where we could hang out and meet girls that became the Cat House is legendary, and I'm so flattered and would never ever imagine that I'd be talking about it so many decades later.
Okay, so who came up with the name?
Me.
You did?
Tammy was in a band called Faster Pussycat, and I used to do a lot of substances back then, and
I think everybody did a lot of substances.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I said, look, you're in a band called Faster Pussycat, and a cat house is another name for a whorehouse. So let's call it Cat House. And he's like, yeah. We're like, okay, yeah. So, you do things and you don't think, because when you do something with passion and something that you really love, if you create something on, this is going to make us a lot of money, it might work, it might not, but your heart's not in it. I think some of the greatest ideas have probably been come up with something that they did their passion, I don't, like when you started this store, you never said like, okay, look, we're going to open this pawn shop and then we're eventually going to turn it into this successful t-shirt company and merchandise where people are going to wait in line to get it. Nobody, if you would have told somebody that, they would have said you're crazy. But because you had something you were passionate about, it naturally happened. And that's the same thing that happened with the Cat House.
It just...
Did you have to pull money together to get everything going, or did you just hey, I'm going down, fucking renting this building, and we're
no,
fucking
not
going?
even that. I found a disco in Hollywood that was called Osco's, which is where they shot the disco movie, Thank God It's Friday. And literally, you'd walk in there and you'd walk in the stairs and your leg would fall through. And I've always, you can swear on this show?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You ever heard me say the
Okay.
F-bomb?
Okay. So I believe that I made it this far in life truly just knowing how to bullshit, not lying, but bullshit, believing my bullshit, getting other people. So if I walk in there and I'm trying to tell you, look, I'm going to create this club and I can do this and your bar isn't making any money. Let me do a night here and I'll invite my friends and I'll keep the door and you can keep the bar. And he's like, well, can we do this promotion? This new liquor company's launched. They called it Liquid Methadone. I'm like, okay. And it was the launch of Jägermeister. And because I was surrounded by very talented people and because I never screwed anybody over, I really opened up the Cat House. The Cat House opened with enough money to buy the flyers. I never owned the buildings. I would go to an existing building and then just say, look, you keep the bar, I'll keep the door. So I truly opened up the Cat House with no money.
Just basically promoting shows.
Absolutely. Just
getting bare minimum,
hitting the
passing out
streets,
flyers.
going out there and having friends that were willing to play.
And that's where you really used to have to hustle because there was no social media. There was no it was flyers because back in the days, that's what it was.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that people wanted to go out. Like right now, I still find it amazing that there's kids that are 18 that didn't get their driver's license yet. Because when I was, 15 and a half, I got my learner's permit and got a moped. And then I was 16 the day of, I would get my driver's license on my birthday. And now it's like, we don't really need it. I got an Uber.
No, it's freedom. It's freedom.
That's what it was. When you were driving a car, it was like, I could crash into this building tomorrow, but I could do everything. I mean, I stole my father's Jeep when I was 14. And when I was 14, I looked like I was 12. And I got pulled over. And he's like, well, just bring the car home. I'm like, okay. And so I just wanted to drive. I always wanted to drive. And that's what it is. It's just that freedom. It's that individuality to do whatever you want.
But young people they're just so different now. I mean, because me, when I was 14 years old, me and all my buddies, we'd tell our parents we're going to the midnight movies. And we were just on Fiesta Island in San Diego with a bonfire and beer and and we thought we were gods.
But everything is different. I mean, you had to meet girls by talking to them and talking and engaging in conversation instead of the
That's not a
internet.
thing anymore.
No. It's like you meet people off the internet, which, okay, that's how I met my wife, but that's not the point.
Well, we're in modern times now.
Right.
Times
I had
have
to talk.
shifted,
I had to
yeah.
write to her, so that's like talking.
Well, no, but the thing is, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Maybe we're just being old men and bitching about stuff like that.
Well, and I mean, pretty much by now, you don't even have to come up with your own words. You just put it into AI
Yeah.
or Chat GTP. I need to hit on this girl and make her like me. This is a little about her. This is a little about
And
me.
I hate that.
Oh yeah, no, the whole dating thing with like on the internet is like, no, I mean people don't engage like they used to. It's kind of like
So, AI. I hate AI, right? But I have a T-shirt company, and sometimes I was hiring graphic artists. It was very expensive and taking forever. And I just tried to say something, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting this AI art that looks really cool for free. And I hate it that I'm I hate AI, but I'm using it.
you know a really cheap way to get a ton of t-shirt designs. Have a Facebook contest. So submit your designs. You know what I mean? If
I mean, AI though, you gotta embrace it. I'm actually made the leap to try to start to understand it because, at 42, by the time I'm 60, like if I don't understand AI, I'm gonna be like Rick over here trying to learn how to text message. It's
But like ChatGPT, that's such bullshit. Because we were working on a project based on my spoken word show, and I was trying to write it, and they're like, "Don't write it, just put it into ChatGPT." I'm like, "Do people write?" And people write books from ChatGPT.
I know it's crazy.
you can't
and
get
if
that
you ever
personal
just-
experience though. Yeah.
I've always said if you've never seen that movie Wall-E, the Pixar movie or whatever, it's so accurate of what's happening and what's going to happen. And I keep on saying like that movie's really scary, even though it's this kid's movie, because it shows the way civilization really is going, and it's just terrifying.
I
Yeah,
just
it's
watched.
idiocracy.
I just
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
iRobot over again a couple weeks ago. Have you ever seen the one with Will Smith?
Yes, yes,
Oh my
yes.
God, it's actually a horrifying movie now. To watch it, I'm like, holy shit, this is actually what's happening right now in front of us.
Especially when you keep on seeing these videos from Boston Dynamics that shows
Yeah.
people fighting these robots or
Yeah.
these robots
No,
running
it's-
through
yeah,
online. And I
no,
keep on
it's-
saying like, I hope this isn't real, but it's like, it's scary.
The
And
zombie
the thing
apocalypse
is,
is going to happen.
we keep the zombie apocalypse or the robot apocalypse.
One of the other ones, because they're doing all
Right.
the because AI is going to come up with some like one of these days AI is going to go like someone's going to type into AI like how can we make sure the robots are never turned off, and then one robot's going to go like we just kill all the people.
Right, right.
I think
we'll
it's
have
ByteDance. You heard? I think it's ByteDance, the Chinese company. You heard what they just like achieved? They can now make a 100% realistic video of you talking, and all they need is like a small voice clip and a still image, and they can have full motion. It's insane.
Well, no, it's like the deep fakes and all this
Yeah, the
other
deep
stuff.
And
fakes
it's hard,
just got
and that's why I
crazy.
get mad. And me, who's a skeptic anyway, now everything I don't believe. And the truth is that you look at things and you can't, with a giant shark or this or that, and you don't know what's real. And it makes me so angry because I know it's going to get worse, and there's nothing you can do. But if you rob
just
a
gonna
bank, you rob a bank, and you say, "Oh, that was AI. I didn't do it." It
Eventually,
was
I'm just
fake."
going to turn into a grumpy old man and just live in the mountains.
I mean, that's pretty much
All I
already
have
happened.
for me to do that, all I have to do is move to the mountains. I'm the grumpy old man, just haven't moved to the mountains.
Well,
yet.
you're definitely wearing the outfit to make that come to fruition.
You like the outfit choice today?
It's definitely a choice, that's for sure.
Well, you got to show those things you're wearing on your feet.
Oh, everyone knows these.
I
things,
was
dude.
so
These
excited.
Are,
I'm like, oh yeah, he's a sneakerhead too. I wonder what shoes he's gonna wear. I'm like,
dude, these
all
were
right.
$250.
Okay. And the worst part is,
Rick was with me when I bought these, actually.
okay. Now I've seen you on the show questioning some of his choices. What did you think about those?
I think they're fucking hideous. I mean, look at them. I mean, they're
But with that being said, who could make him look better than me?
okay. But then again, my kids tell me these are old man shoes. These are dad shoes.
Those kind of are though.
Yeah,
That's why. But
yeah.
I'm old, and
But
I
I mean,
I
those
wore-
are like
These are
those came in
bitchin'.
a silver briefcase.
They
right?
briefcase.
like a silver box.
It was
like,
definitely
yeah.
in a silver
I
box.
forget what they're
I
called.
mean, I
but
got a few.
had those.
You know what? I got a few pairs of really cool Nikes and stuff like that. Some cool cowboy boots.
Rick
But,
was
like,
actually into like Nike SBs at one point.
Right.
I would come in and all of a sudden he would just be like in the office opening up his box from eBay, and he would have this like super hype beast pair of like the Bruce Springsteen SBs or the Tweed SBs, and he was just going through this phase where like this was.
I still
had
got
to
them
be-
all.
What is the most that you guys have paid for a pair of shoes?
Well, that would
Like
be
Nike.
him because he's got like
I
crazy
mean,
shoes.
I paid $2,000 for a pair of shoes, but I
Which
wore
ones
them.
were those?
They were yellow lobsters. They were 15. There were, I think, 36 pairs. They're not exactly sure how many pairs were made, but it was only two of each size as the legend. Friends and family. They were Nike SBs, And I bought them actually from when we went to the shoe museum to buy that $1 million Nike collection. Rick said no. So I was like, well, I want to buy something from here. And I saw those. I was like, oh, I'll never see them again. They were like a full size too big. I still wore them probably 50 to 100 times. And I got
Now,
like
did
17,000 for them used, worn like a bunch of times.
See, I don't want to buy it. Like, I've been to some of those places where they sell like nice shoes, and they're like, "Well, this pair is only, is used." And I'm like, I just don't want to buy a used pair of shoes.
Well, it's like my son. This was like years ago. I bought him a pair of Travis Scott Nikes.
I made Rick buy them for him. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
and they were
crazy.
like,
Just
I had to pay like
this-
$2,000 for
because
them.
the swoosh goes the other way.
Because like no, he
No, because he had to have
he
them.
was a legend at school.
Right, because of those shoes.
Yeah.
Rick was like, I need to buy Jake something. I was like, all right, you buy him these right here. Oh, fuck no, $2,000? I don't know if they're $1,000 or $2,000 at the time, but he's, I'm not buying. I go, Rick, trust me, these are the ones you're buying for him.
But there's also like there's knockoffs.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? So, but there's some things like the only thing I've ever I've spent money on a watch, but that's pretty much it. But the thing is, because some people know me from TV or something, that if I do wear some bootleg stuff, people would just assume that it's real. But I don't have any bootleg stuff.
Yeah.
But you see knockoff stuff that's like I haven't heard like Logan Paul has a couple knockoff watches because everybody says it's Logan Paul. They're like, oh, this looks like a 50,000.
I mean, why wear a
$100,000
$100,000 watch in public and be a target if you can wear a $200 fake and everyone thinks it's real?
But you're still going to be a target.
Well, you just give it to them.
Right.
Take that,
Okay,
baby.
it's okay,
Yeah,
no
okay.
problem.
So what else you got going on? Anything you want to talk about? Maybe some people don't know. Any projects?
After I did my spoken word show, we were trying to maybe. The thing is, my whole life seeing all your friends talking about going on the road. I mean, I remember sitting in Nikki Sixx's house when Nikki Sixx was talking to the guys from Rat and they were all talking about going on tour. I'm like, that sounds so much fun. I'd like to go on tour. So to get to do it at my age and go out on the road and just stand up on stage and tell stories was the greatest thing I've done in my whole career. And we're going to see what happens with that, maybe work on some projects on that. But right now I've got the big charity ride, the Ricky's Ride that I'm doing with Rambler Water, and that's what I'm focused on right now. And I have my apparel and coffee company, and we'll see. I do certain things like, I go out on doing heavy metal cruises, which that sounds like a contradiction. But I do stuff like that. And once in a while, I'll do certain events. But we'll see. I'm still at the point that now I'm very lucky that I get to pick and choose. That if somebody offers me a job that's kind of like, for this amount of money, but somebody offers me a cool job that's a little bit less, I can go for the cool job. Can go for stuff that I really like. But as far as sitting here to promote anything,
well, it's important you're doing stuff that you like. I mean, that's the point.
I
of
have
life.
to now because if it's something that I don't like, I just get really bored and I'm not going to give it the effort. So
Yeah, it's like me. I'm a grumpy old man. If I don't like it, I'm gonna let you know.
right, that's the good thing about getting older is the filter just gets thinner and thinner and
Now
thinner.
listen to this, Chum. You're gonna need to know this.
Yeah. So there gets to be a point, and you get older, that pretty soon the little things that you used to just go, it's a little bit cold in here. But when you get older, you're like, would somebody turn on the heat? It's a little cold in here, and you don't care anymore. It's like, and whatever everything is not the right temperature. These cereal used to taste so much better, and what the hell is this? And you get to make fun of other people's stuff like shoes when they deserve it. But I'm also still, I'm the world's oldest teenager. I still do the same old shit. I broke my elbow skateboarding a year and a half ago. Yeah. So, but now, the stuff that I like, some of it's become collectible. Yeah. And hearing when something like, that was made in the 2000s, I'm like, so it's new. People tell me all the time, hey, you listening to any new bands? I'm like, yeah, I like this band. They've been around 20 years. Yeah, that's a new band.
Yeah.
20 years is the mark of vintage.
That's crazy for me. When I hear people collecting cars that were in 2000 or when, I bought my house. Yeah, your house was built in 1995. I know it's new,
Well, that's like in my bar. Like I was in my bar yesterday bartending, and like this girl comes and let me see your ID. And I'm like, 2004, I guess you can drink in here.
Isn't that weird? Because 2000 doesn't seem like that long ago. No. So to think that there was somebody, and the craziest thing is like, and this is what I get, because I was on TV from 1990 to 1995, is I'll get like an old guy that'll come up to me and he'll go up and he'll go, "You Riki Rachtman?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, man, I used to watch you when I was a little kid." I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Or like somebody will go up and go, "Hey, Riki Rachtman." "Yeah, my grandma loved you." I'm like, "Oh, geez." And because I've never had to grow up, I don't realize that I'm older. So I still do the same stupid shit that I used to do. But then you get those constant reminders when, the old man says he grew up watching you, stuff like that.
Well, but you do get to do the old man stuff too, because like my granddaughter loves it when and my daughter hates it when I go to my granddaughter, pull my finger.
Right.
Oh, my girl loves that too.
Really?
My niece will tell her, "Momo, you're not supposed to pull a boy's finger when they tell you to do that." It's the cutest
Well, that's a
thing
good
ever.
lesson to teach him, just as it take it further and further in life. But I also never had kids. So because I don't have kids, when people have kids, they know that they're getting older because they see that cute little kid that was 2. The next day, that person's 5. And then 10, you're like, well, if they're getting older, that means I'm getting older too,
Yeah.
You can't tell how old your dogs are by looking at them or my cats.
Yeah.
So I still think like, hey, I'm still young. Until
Yeah.
I
No,
wake
I'm
up in
feeling
the morning.
old too. Just kind of the same thing as like.
From sitting with us?
No, people will come in and they'll be like 21, 22, and they'll show me a picture I took with them when they were like knee high, and I'm like, dude, I'm only 42 years old. It's actually making me feel old, but.
Yeah,
I'm still
I'd
young.
pay millions of dollars to be 42 again.
So I'm just gonna donate Rick's time to you. If you're ever doing some charity motorcycle work out here, he loves to ride. I'm
Dude,
sure.
you
we-
should
And I also-
ride.
I also-
I would love to ride with you. That would be fun.
I also have a charity ride every year here in Vegas. It's the Pawn Stars Poker Run, and I always
When is it?
It's in October, and I always do it for epilepsy
Beautiful.
charities, and we get. We always have a blast. It's always get a couple hundred bikes. It's a good time.
Rick loves riding. He loves working with charities. So I don't ride
Those
much
are the two
anymore.
best things in the
I had
world.
carpal tunnel in both hands, so I'll borrow a bike from Rick or Corey from time to time and ride because I freaking love riding, but it just aggravates my hand. Yeah.
Some people were put on this planet not to ride motorcycles.
No, I was
And to
put
keep them
on
off
this planet, I
motorcycles,
think.
you were given carpal tunnel.
So like a buddy of mine, like 10 years, he's my age. Like 10 years ago, is like, "Hey Rick, I might want to get a bike." I'm going like, "No, you can't." He's going, "Why not?" Because there's 2 kinds of motorcycle riders: those who've crashed and those who will. And you're 50 years old. Your bones don't flex no more. You can't learn how to ride a motorcycle.
See, that like the thing that always bugged me because when I ride in and people always go up to you, but instead of going up to you, go, "Yeah, it is beautiful weather." They go, "Oh, you're riding? Yeah, I know somebody that was just killed on a motorcycle." You don't ever say to anybody else like, "Oh, I like your car. I know somebody that was just killed in a car accident." It's like I don't care how many people want to tell me about people that were injured. I don't want to know that stuff, but people love to tell you.
Well, then again, I mean, I've just been an adrenaline junkie my whole life.
Yes.
I just look at people like, you know what? You never do anything like that, but I've lived 5 times the life you've lived. You're 50 years old. I'm 300.
Right.
You
That's how
probably
much
lived
I've
100 times the life most people have, and you're
Yeah, no, I
showing
mean,
it in
just
your
like all the,
goatee.
I mean, like, there is nothing like fucking like getting on a motorcycle and fucking just jumping off the side of a fucking sand dune, going down 100 feet, or in a sand car, or just fuck. I just love I just love crazy shit like
now,
that.
do you have a bucket list of things that you've never done that you always wanted to do?
Still haven't jumped out of an airplane.
I did that 45 times.
I know how to fly. I'm learning how to fly one, but
Well, if you know how to fly one, hopefully you're not going to learn how to jump out of an airplane when you're flying.
well, not when I'm flying. No, but no. Actually, me and my girlfriend, for her birthday this summer, we're going to go skydiving.
I won't skydive, never.
Love skydiving.
I
did
love
that
to be
for-
under the ocean. The only thing left on my bucket list is to swim with sharks outside of a cage, like man-eating sharks.
I was scuba diving once and I saw a shark. Scared the fuck out of me.
No, I searched for them.
See, the people that grew up watching the movie Jaws, it's like what you don't understand is when the movie Jaws came out, you would be scared to be in a swimming pool.
Oh, I saw Jaws as a little kid.
Oh, you did see
Oh,
it as a
scared
kid.
shitless, yeah.
Fuck, that movie. I mean, that movie.
I was born in 82, so
Okay.
I was young. I don't remember the exact year it came out, but I
remember
know I
seeing
was
that
little
movie
when I
at the
saw it.
drive-in.
Right.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking
I
to
had
you,
so much
man.
fun with you guys.
You've lived an awesome lifestyle. You have quite the story. We didn't really even touch the surface of it, but it's good to get to know you. Maybe we can have you come back sometime.
I would love to. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
try to find a way. You've got enough bikes. I could borrow one for your ride.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
has
I'd love to
plenty.
go
Or
ride
Harley
it,
can
yeah.
let me
We'll
borrow
pull the one out of his office for you.
Yeah, the Triumph.
Yeah.
The Triumph that had
I've always
60
been a Triumph guy for some reason.
Huh?
Always been a Triumph
I
guy.
love Triumph. Well, Triumphs is one of the, because I have a Bonneville, and Triumphs are one of the bikes that even the Harley guys, like everybody respects Triumph because Triumphs are. I mean, Evil Knievel, he did
The
do a
original
Harley.
cafe racer.
Huh? Yeah. That's,
You know why they called them cafe racers?
Yes, because in England they used to go from cafe to cafe.
Hey, because like in the 50s, the young guys would go to cafes, old guys would go to pubs.
Right.
But now those guys are like in their 70s,
Right.
or 80s or 90s.
Pretty close to you.
Yeah, fuck off.
Well, it's been a pleasure. We'd love to have you
much
back.
fun, so
It's
much
been a
fun.
blast,
Such
man.
a
It
good
really
time,
has.
guys.
This is Pawn After Dark.